The #1 overall seed Alabama taking down the 16 seed Texas A&M Corpus Christi. The Islanders fresh off the first four, but the Tide just too much. Nick Pringle off the bench leading the way with 19. He got 5 players finishing with double-digit scoring, and you might be wondering, where's the All-American? Where is Brandon Miller? He was held scoreless in this opening round game. So here is how things look now in the South region. Alabama already knowing who they're going to take on Saturday. It's Maryland after their first round matchup against West Virginia. Exciting times in Birmingham, Alabama. And we welcome in now Matt Norlander. Matt, you watched all this action go down. I got to start. Brandon Miller, star freshman, held scoreless, and it did not even matter. How deep is this Alabama team?
Now, Alabama has a lot of depth for sure, and it's actually part of why it's a 1 seed right now. And it's shocking, to be honest, that Alabama would play a game Brandon Miller would start in and he wouldn't score a point. But that is indeed what happened, and so here we are. And they were still able to cruise, win by 21 points. Crimson Tide are the #1 overall seed for a reason. You can see right here. He did get 5 points, 3 assists, and contribute in other ways, but. If anything, the story around Alabama continues to be the story of Brandon Miller and Jaden Bradley. Both those players were at the scene that happened on January 15th that resulted in the death of Jamia Harris. So the school continues to be the subject of criticism and certainly ongoing curiosity, even like casual sports rubbernecking, if you will, because of what a big story and frankly, what a tragic story it is. And it remains a controversial one.
You mentioned it, the cloud of distraction surrounding this team, still very present, but clearly not affecting things on the court for the Tide today. But how will it potentially matter as that competition begins to heat up?
That's a good question, and it's one I think that might be the dominant storyline of this NCAA tournament's opening couple of days, if not the opening weekend. We'll see if Alabama can push on through and defeat Maryland or not in a couple of days, Emily. But certainly the criticism around how Alabama's handled this continues, which isn't to say some people believe that Brandon Miller and Jaden Bradley should not be playing at all. Some people believe that the school should have just been more transparent from the outset, perhaps suspended those players for a certain number of games. But that's not what Alabama has chosen to do. And as the tournament rolls on, it becomes this huge, it's not just a big sports event. This is a cultural American event. You will get more and more people showing up to these games, these press conferences, asking these questions. And there's even been more recent noise around the program and a report Alabama has refuted, also tied to that night there. So it's every single day there is something else about this that's not just about the basketball. And as someone who has talked about this story here on HQ, on the Eye on College Basketball podcast, written columns about it for CBSSports.com, that's the right thing. There will be no sports washing of this. We can acknowledge what a good team Alabama is, but we also need to acknowledge, the thing that's running right alongside this team's push through the tournament, and that is how it is handled or mishandled in the eyes of many, including me, this entire matter. Miller didn't score on Thursday. It's hard to imagine that performance would get repeated because they will need him to play better if they're going to beat Maryland.
Well said. Let's get back to the action on the court. Sleepy game overall for the Tide, which is exactly what you want out of the #1 overall seed. But what else did you learn in this one?
I'd say Alabama's reinforcing how good of a scoring team it can be. The fact of the matter is Alabama can win in a bunch of different ways, and it showed that yet again. So when that staff goes and watches over this tape, what'll happen here is they'll go and do their post-game stuff. Then they'll go back to the hotel. They'll rest up. The staff will get right to work watching this game, watching Maryland tape. There would have been assistants that were watching the Maryland-West Virginia game. 1 or 2 of those assistants would have been on that scout, literally watching it inside the arena. And they'll see it, a reinforcement of what they already know. Like, they are so well equipped between Spears in particular is a wonderful player. Quinterly can step up in very big moments there. So Alabama is expected by most people to get to the Sweet 16 without too much of a hiccup. Maryland will provide a real challenge. I do think Maryland is good enough to do that, and we saw what it was able to do in coming back and beating West Virginia. But right now, through the first half of the day, Alabama has put up as strong of a performance as any team so far in the tournament.
Yeah. Yeah, some chaos in that South region, but chalk with Alabama taking care of business. They will set to face Maryland after the Terps win their opener against West Virginia. Matt, thank you so much. Get the March Madness Live app today and stream every game of the NCAA Men's Tournament live from your phone, tablet, computer, or favorite streaming device.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.